in mind that you want to maybe understand better, maybe know a little more about, add more to your communication? Where is the missing link? And while you put your thoughts together on that, let me also put out another poll to help you assess yourself. And may I say, let this be a very, very honest assessment on where do you think you stand as of now on your ability to communicate with clarity. On a scale of 5, 5 being the highest, where do you assess yourself on your ability to communicate with clarity? On your ability to communicate with confidence, and on your ability to communicate, to connect with people. Are you able to connect with people when you communicate with them? It's a very different thing to just communicate and to communicate to connect. So how well do you think you connect with people? How much clarity are you able to bring into your communication? And how much confidence do you feel when you are communicating with people? Thankfully, in a poll format, we don't know your individual responses. So please openly share what you feel about your own ability to communicate so you know exactly what to pick from this session. As much as it's a 1-hour session, I promise you, there is a lot I intend to offer. But for that, I need an honest assessment first. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. In the next 5 seconds, let's quickly answer the 3 questions. How do you assess yourself on your ability to communicate with clarity, with confidence, and to connect? Okay, I'm ending the poll now. And let's see what this looks like. All right, I'm sharing the results with you all. So 54% of us live here in the room think that we are a 3 on a scale of 5 when it comes to communicating with clarity. We are a 3 again. 50% of us are a 3 on 5 when it comes to confidence. And we are again a 3 on 5. Some of us are a 4 on 5 when it comes to being able to communicate, to connect with people. Great, thank you so much for your response. I'm also going to pick up on the chat box. Once again, guys, let's please use the session as well as possible. I would request you to put your questions in the Q&A tab you have and put your comments in the chat box so that I don't miss out on any questions. So I'm going to look into Q&A every now and then during the session. Quickly picking up on a few comments. Ruchika says to put ourselves out there and create an impact and first impression. Great. Abhishek says, I want to minimize the language limitations as a barrier to communicate. Wonderful. Great point there. Thank you for bringing that up, Abhishek. I'll elaborate on it. Deepa says, now that we are all working from home, effective communication is much needed all the more. I couldn't have agreed more, Deepa. Absolutely bang on. The whole life, including personal and professional, depends on communication is another comment. Thank you so much, guys, for all your comments. To put ourselves out there and creating an impression is just as important as making an effective communication each time we communicate. So picking up from what Abhishek has shared, I think that's the first thing we have to understand and get out of our way. Communication is not restricted to a particular language, not even English. A lot of us think that our handicap with communication is that we are not fluent in one particular language, more often than not, English. Well, communication is our skill to reach out to the other person with a message that we wish to communicate in such a manner that it is received and understood the same way. Simple. I intend to deliver a message, and I've been able to articulate it in such a manner that you have received the message the way I intended to deliver. This could be done in Hindi, in Marathi, in Gujarati, in Kannada, in English, in German, in French, in any language that you know and the receiver understands, right? It's not the language that decides how good a communicator we are. It's our ability to articulate. It's our ability to connect. It's our ability to bring in clarity and the confidence with which we reach out to people. That is what adds to the effectiveness of communication. So today, as much as I want to emphasize on the effectiveness bit of communication, the entire piece of communication also needs to be understood really well first. And we will dive into that next month. So I've planned a crash course on communication because this is a topic which can't be concluded in just one webinar. So I'm going to offer a crash course to you all where we will go much deeper into the communication process. What are the 5 steps that we need to know about communication from the sender to the receiver? There are 5 steps in between that have to be understood. We've got to go through that understanding, irrespective of the language we choose to communicate in. We will also learn how to be assertive in that crash course. And most importantly, we will learn how to say no. A lot of us have a problem with that, isn't it? If you have a problem in saying no, just say me in the chat box. Give me a me in the chat box. That, yeah, I mean, I don't like to say no to people. I have a problem in saying no. A lot of us do. Yeah, I see a lot of me's there. Yes, for a long time it was me too, until I figured out how you can really release off the pressure and do a lot more if you just learn how to say no. And there are many nice ways of saying it. I think the biggest fear that we have when we want to say no is not to hurt people, not to be mean or bad to people. And there are good ways to do that. So you can be nice and still say no. That would be fun, isn't it? So let's learn that together next month. Look out for the details on this course. I will be emailing all the details to you guys. If you want to be connected with us and you think we don't have your email, please put it in the chat box right away. We will make a note of this at the end of the session. Share your email address and I'll make sure that you get the details. All right. So time for me to open up the mind map on effectiveness. And there are good ways to do that. So you can be nice and still say no. That would be fun, isn't it? So let's learn that. There we go. So let's get to the effectiveness of communication. Please give me a confirmation if you can see my screen. Not yet? Okay. Is that a yes? Are you able to see my screen? I will wait for that confirmation, so I'm sure you're able to see it. Okay. So what I want to share with you all today is 5 ways to make communication effective. So let's look at the first one first. The most important thing for us to be effective with our communication is to first be okay with who we are, which is our authenticity. How authentic can I be when I communicate? I'm sharing the screen again. I'm sure this time you'll be able to see. Is that a yes? Great. All right. So the first thing for us to learn and to keep in mind is that we need to find ourselves and connect with our authentic self. When we are communicating, we are trying to express who we are, how we feel, what our opinions are to the other person, which means we need to come across as who we are. And there are 5 things that help us do that. The first is to claim your ownership. Claim ownership on your views, claim ownership on your opinions, be yourself and show what you feel and what you believe. The second thing to remember when you're trying to be authentic is to connect with people. A lot of you in the room feel that you can connect with people really well. What does that mean? What does it mean to connect with people? Connecting with people is about understanding who they are and meeting them where they are and not expecting them to come where you are. Connecting with people is to empathize, is to listen, is to care, have compassion and curiosity. Curiosity to know more about other people than to share what you have to share. And when you show that curiosity is when you are really connecting with them. You also need to bring in consistency in who you are and the messages that you deliver when you share. So for example, on one platform, I can't be heard saying that parenting is the biggest blessing for anyone to experience. And on the other platform, I seem to be cribbing and complaining and whining over the challenges that parenting brings. I can't be seen supporting social media on one platform and on the other complaining about everything that it does as damage to us, right? Which means that while there could be different contexts in which we bring our point of view, the stand that we take, the opinion that we have should be ours. And when it is ours, we don't have to struggle to remember, what did I say in that particular forum? What did I say to this particular person? Because whatever I would have said, even if I don't remember what it was my opinion, which means even if I'm asked that question today, without any recollection from what I must have said the last time, the probability of it being the same is very high, because I am talking from my original, authentic point of view. As obvious as it sounds, we miss out on authenticity because we think that following the bandwagon is the best way to connect with people. And we land up falling in trap of following the bandwagon, which means doing what everybody else seems to be doing, agreeing with what everybody else seems to be agreeing with. It's only when you create your own point of view that you're able to respect other people's point of view. Does not mean that we get rigid or headstrong about what we feel. And that's where curiosity comes in, right? Curiosity to learn what other people feel, but having the clarity and ownership on my point of view as well. Allowing flexibility, but not lack of consistency. There is a difference. Are you getting it? Give me a yes in the chat box if you're understanding what I'm talking about here on authenticity. It's very, very important. I mean, we can learn a language, we can be fluent, learn some heavy words to impress people, but all of it falls flat if you're not authentic in what you say and who you are. Super, wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. The last point on authenticity is clarity. And what does clarity mean? If I were to elaborate on this as an acronym, clarity is concise messaging, which means being concise, precise, to the point, which means bringing in the practice of thinking in bullets, writing in bullets, preparing yourself for a talk in bullets, even if it's a phone call. When you have to make an important call to a client, see if you're clear about what you want to say and write down those 3 things. Okay, by the end of this call, I should have covered these 3 things. And when you have those 3 things, you will be more on track, more concise and precise in your message. So bring in the practice of using bullets as often as you can, to the extent of using them in your emails, if you can, instead of writing paragraphs after paragraphs. So being concise in your messaging is what brings in clarity. The second thing is L, laser focus on anticipated actions. What am I expecting as the next step? After I do what I do, or I say what I say, what should be the next step forward? Am I clear about that? That is part of clarity. A of clarity stands for asking specifically. Are you clear about your ask? Are you putting your ask out very, very clearly to the other person so that people understand what you're looking for, how to support you, what information do you need? R of clarity stands for being result oriented. Even if it's a call that you're making to connect with people, what is it that you expect at the end of this call? Do you expect it to end with another meeting or call that you're planning sometime soon? Do you expect it to be a call wherein the other person shows some interest to know you better and you could have some social media handles ready that you can share whenever required, or your website or your proposal, depending upon where the conversation goes, and what results are you expecting from this conversation? That is what brings in clarity in your communication. I of clarity is to identify how to measure your impact. How do I know that this was an impactful conversation? As much as we're talking about effectiveness of communication today, I also promised you that this session will add impact to your communication. And how will that happen? That happens when I create measurables. And when I'm creating measurables, I need to create an as is and a thereafter. Thereafter gets validated when I bring in feedback, right? So just as how I started this session by saying that I want you guys to please take some time out at the end of this session and fill in a feedback. I'll share a feedback link with you all. That is what will complete this session for me. Because the entire cycle of communication starts with what the sender needs to say and ends with what the receiver's feedback is for the sender. So are you creating a feedback mechanism? Because only then can you identify and measure the impact that you've created. T of clarity is to target your message. Who are you talking to and how will you tweak the message accordingly so that it reaches out in the best way possible? And Y of clarity is a big yes, which comes as a response when people confirm that they understand and agree with what you're saying. Yes response confirms agreement from the other person. Agreement of receiving your communication the way you intended it to be. Make sense? You now know exactly how to bring clarity into your communication. You've got to ensure that your messaging is concise, laser focused on action, specific, result oriented. Identify how will you measure the impact, target your message, and expect a yes if you've been able to deliver it with clarity. Good so far? Say yes, good so far. GSF, good so far. Let's have a GSF in the chat box. GSF, super, super, great. Let's keep writing things that you're taking away from this session, guys. Any point could be an eye-opener. Anything could be a breakthrough. Okay, I'm also going to go back to the Q&A every now and then, so make sure you park your questions there. All right, so that's the first thing we've got to do when we want to create effectiveness in communication. We have to start with authenticity. The second point which adds to communication and effectiveness in communication is open-mindedness. So if I were to run a survey and ask people, how many of you think that you're open-minded? My guess is that more than 90% of you, or in any forum, people would put their hand up and claim to be open-minded. But it isn't usually true. Our willingness to be open-minded is not enough. Open-mindedness requires practice. Have you heard this before? Maybe not, right? Because whenever people talk about open-mindedness, they restrict their understanding to being willing. I'm willing, so I'm open-minded. Not enough. Are you practicing being open-minded? Well, then the question could be, but how, Yukti? How do you practice being open-minded? Would you like to know? If I give you 3 ways to practice being open-minded, which means it's not just my claim, it's actually my reality. It's who I am. I am an open-minded person because I practice being open-minded. Would you like to learn? Then say BIO. You know how I function, right? BIO is the fuel to my fire. So give me a BIO. BIO, I want to learn 3 ways to practice open-mindedness. Let's see, what can I do to be more open-minded? Wonderful. I love this group here, guys. Amazing. Thank you so much. All right. There are 3 simple ways in which we're going to expand our ability to be open-minded from today on. The first is to accept difference of opinion. Now, I would go to the extent of participating in discussions where I know that I have a very strong point of view. And we all have strong point of view on something or the other, isn't it? It could be something social as premarital sex. It could be or divorce or live-in relationships, how good or bad they are, or body shame or whatever else. It could be something very topical like corona and how it spreads and how it doesn't. What do's and don'ts are making sense and what is not. We have a view on that. We have a view on the world economy. We have a view on our profession, our life, our values, our beliefs. And it is our beliefs, whether limiting or empowering, that makes these views very, very strong. And when we have a strong view on something, we quickly start labeling things as right and wrong. So when people come up with another point of view, we quickly just put a label of wrong on it, right? This is a wrong way of doing things. This is a wrong thought. This is a wrong action. What is right and what is wrong? My right could be your wrong, isn't it? Your right could be my wrong. So when we are practicing being open-minded, we are challenging our right and wrong. And how do we do that? By accepting a different point of view. So we are accepting it not to follow, but to listen, to understand. And I might agree to disagree, but I'm open to listening. And I accept your point of view with as much respect as I have for my own point of view. We've got to practice this. It doesn't come as naturally as you might think. Trust me. Our beliefs take over even before we realize. And hence, limiting beliefs, identifying them, breaking out of them is a must. And we'll park that for some other time. We'll probably have another discussion on limiting beliefs. It's a very, very important topic. And once you get into that, you will experience breakthroughs and probably fly from that point of time. But for now, let's understand that there are limiting beliefs we operate from. So we've got to consciously accept different point of view. Invite different point of view if you can. The second thing we must learn is to ask questions. Question things, not to prove anything at all, not to prove how right you are and how wrong they are, but to show your curiosity to learn. If you ask questions with the intent of being curious to learn, it will connect with people. It will help you to reach out to people. And if you ask questions with the intent to prove yourself right and the other person wrong, it will land that way on others. And it happens. You might be asking in the same tone, and it's probably the same question in the same words, but your intent shows through your body language. And we don't realize that. So that's how it lands on the other person, because you're not just saying what you're saying, you're using your entire being to say it. So if your intent is right, if your intent is coming from a good place, then it will land in a good manner. Let us bring in the practice to ask questions with the intent to show curiosity to learn about the other person. And the third practice is to avoid speculation, avoid judgments, avoid thinking that you already know what you haven't heard, because you don't. We barely understand what we hear. Forget about assuming that we've got it, even without giving the other person a chance to explain or prove themselves right, just when you're in the process of proving yourself right. Make sense? So these are the three things we've got to practice. Which one of these three are you willing to pick up like right when you're saying, Yukti, I am committing to bring this practice into life like right away. From this moment on, I am more ready to accept differences. I am more eager to ask questions with the intent to understand people, or I am finally willing to stop speculating and judging. Let's see. Jiten says, accept different point of view, different opinion. Wonderful. Ask questions. Accept difference of opinion. Wonderful, Deepa. I see someone raising their hand. I'm going to give you an opportunity to share. Just allow me a moment. Step 2. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm sure you guys are taking something away. I would love to know what. I'm going to come back to the room in a bit and I'll pick up on any sharings that you may have. So just a quick recap. We now know how to be more authentic and we know how to practice being more open-minded. Let's look at listening, and then I want to come back to the room and take some sharings from you all before we cover the last 2 points. Okay, I'm picking up a question that Neha has posed here. How do we overcome fear to communicate in public? So Neha, we are in fact doing a course on art of public speaking this weekend, the coming weekend, 24th and 25th of this month. I'm going to share the link with you all when I'm back in the room. Register for that. We're going to learn a lot about public speaking, how to overcome fears, how to draft a speech that reaches out to people, connecting with people. Public speaking, in my view, is not about being a speaker. It's about speaking in public. And more than two is crowd. And crowd is public, right? So when you're talking to more than 2 people, you are actually public speaking. You're speaking in public. So how do we create that presence for ourselves? How do we prepare our speech better so that we can connect better and overcome fears are some of the things that we're going to learn over this weekend. So it's on 24th and 25th, 3 to 5 p.m., 4 hours crash course. Sign up for it. I'll share the details in a bit, Neha. Okay, so let's come to listening. which is the key to effective communication. The most important thing about communication is to listen. Listen to the other person. I've talked about Fiji many times. This is the easiest way for us to practice active listening. How many of us know Fiji and practicing? Just say me in the chat box. A lot of you are silhouette leaders here, and a lot of the others have attended some of my sessions before. So I know Fiji is not new to you all. Yes, you know what Fiji means. So for those who haven't heard this from me before, Fiji is an acronym that I've come up with out of sheer personal practice, which has helped me to be a better listener, right? So Fiji stands for being able to focus on the speaker. And by focus, I mean truly focus, create an eye contact, be with that person, cut out on distractions, including your phone, most importantly, your phone, or any other thing that can create a distraction. So always focus. I of Fiji is showing interest in the other person, which means bending forward, nodding, saying or giving an acknowledgement when you're listening to the other person, using gestures, tilting your head, your body language confirms to the speaker that you are with that person, right? So you show interest when somebody talks. J stands for avoiding judgment, right? Which means before people start talking, a large part of us assumes that we kind of know it. Assumption, as they say, is ass you and me, right? When I'm assuming, I'm making an ass of myself because I don't know what you're going to say today. You might have said something yesterday, but that's who you were yesterday. And that's how ready I was to listen to you yesterday. But today I've evolved in my wisdom a tad bit, and so have you. So how are we going to communicate today is a function of how willing am I to listen more actively today, which means with a clean slate. So avoid judgment. And lastly, never interrupt. When somebody talks, give them a chance to complete what they're saying. There is a research done that proves that when you allow people to just complete what they have to say, they feel more heard and accepted, even if you don't do what they're asking you to do, even if you don't agree with what they're saying. Just allowing people to say without being interrupted in itself makes them feel more complete and more heard. And that is our practice of active listening. So I would encourage you to bring in Fiji into practice. Focus on the speaker, show interest, avoid judgment, and never interrupt. Listening is a skill that needs to be developed and strengthened forever. It's a work in progress forever. And when you pick this up as a skill that you want to master, you automatically master a lot of other skills, including communication. So here are the first three that I wanted to share with you to make your communication more effective: authenticity, open-mindedness, and listening. I'll stop sharing, come back with you all in the room, and then take you through the last two, which are just as important to make communication more effective. So let us have some sharings from you all. I had a hand up from someone. Can you please put your name in the chat box? If anyone wants to share, you can just put your name in the chat box. Just put your name, guys. Don't say me, because there are lots of me's in the chat box already. Put your name and I will unmute you and you could share with us what you're taking away, or if there's any question that you want to ask. Meanwhile, I'm picking up Latasha's question: how to overcome stage fear. Again, Latasha, it's a topic that requires a lot of digging in, and that's exactly why I planned this session on the course on public speaking. There's one more question here. To put ourselves out there and create a first impression is important for communication. Absolutely, yes. Why the name Silhouette, Aradhya? Thanks, very good question. When you ask such a question, it's like asking a mother about the child's name, and then the story follows. So I'll park that aside for now, Aradhya. Would love to answer it in a bit, but let's go with the flow of the session on communication for now. And before I take you through the last two, let me see what you're taking away so far. Let's have your takeaways from the session in the chat box, please. What are you taking away from the session, guys? How's it going for you? What are you taking away from the session so far? I'm waiting for your comments in the chat box. No judgment, says Garima. Fantastic. Very, very difficult to do, Garima. but absolutely possible. And I will not claim that I don't judge at all, but honestly, I don't think I judge as much. After some 6 7 years of conscious practice of not judging people, especially when I'm trying to listen. Listening is very, very important, Kedar. Absolutely agree with you. Need to learn to listen before I speak. Arnab, you cracked this and you've cracked communication. Trust me. It is a myth that communication is all about being the loudest in the room. Communication is about being an extrovert. Communication is about talking more. Absolutely wrong. Communication is about listening. Communication is about giving people a chance to share. Communication is about being comfortable with silence. It's okay that we're not saying anything, and yet we are communicating, because it is in those moments of silence that we can allow people to be and give them the space they need to truly connect. Being okay with who we are, Ruchika, thank you so much. Authenticity and clarity for Sujata, being a good listener, accept difference in opinion, fantastic. Thank you so much, Nepra. Great takeaways. Before I go back to the screen, I'm quickly sharing the link in the chat box. I will also put up the link in this mail that will follow after the session. This is the link for you to register for Art of Public Speaking. Allow me a moment, since we are at it, I'll quickly take you through what I intend to offer in the course. Okay, so when you click on this link, you will arrive on this page. At this page, you will see everything that we are going to cover in the course: how to prepare your speech, how to look comfortable and confident in any speaking situation, how to develop your credibility when you're connecting with people, off stage, on stage, how to prepare your own self better, including body language, which is 55% of communication, right? Learn the most effective ways to start your talk, whether it is a conversation with people off stage, or delivering a speech or connecting with audience on stage, and how to learn strong ways of closing a conversation. Opening and closing are the most important pieces of public speaking. There is a bias called recency bias, and that bias explains us how our human psychology is such that it retains the last thing that has happened, and that is what leaves an impact, an impression on us. It's the first impression that creates a presence of somebody in your mind, and then it is the last piece of conversation that leaves you with a taste, either a bitter one or a sweet one, right? Depends on how you close that conversation. Very, very important part of public speaking. So it's on 24th and 25th, 3 to 5, like I said. And the course fee is just $14.99, which includes taxes. So grab this opportunity, guys. And for those who are in the session and only here right now, I'm happy to offer a discount of $500, which means you can do this course at just for $9.99, including taxes. Remember to use the discount code webinar in bold, all in bold, webinar. Come to this page, and when you say register now, you will be taken to the payment page. You sign up here, and then you're taken to the payment page where you put the discount code webinar. Okay, and that will give you 500 further discounts. So that's just $9.99, including taxes, only for those who are in the room. And if you're already a Silhouette leader, you don't need to sign up. You click on login instead. You already have your login ID and password created for the page. Just use that, submit, and you will be taken to the payment page. I'm putting the code here. It's webinar in the chat box, WEBINAR, all caps. Right, please register. A lot of you in the room have registered already. I know that. Thank you so much. I'm waiting to see you over the weekend, and let's dive in and crack public speaking. It'll be another skill that you will be proud of at the end of this weekend. Okay, so let's come back to effective communication. We know authenticity is important, being open-minded is important, listening is important, and so is assertiveness. We are going to learn a lot more about assertiveness next month in the crash course on communication. But for now, please take away these 3 value adds on being more assertive. The first thing to understand and learn about being assertive is to learn how to value your own opinion. If I don't value my opinion, I can't expect people to value my opinion. And I value my opinion if I have high self-esteem, if I have high self-love, if I have high self-respect. And self-respect or self-esteem or self-love is not the same as being arrogant. It is acceptance of who I am and who I am not. It is the acceptance of whatever trace of perfection I see in myself and all the imperfections that I come with. When I accept all of that is when I'm high on my self-esteem. Self-esteem is not tested in positive times. Self-esteem is questioned and tested in negativity. It is tested when things are not okay. It is tested when things fall below your expectations. How do you deal with those situations? That is a real test of how high you are on your self-esteem. So when you work on that, you're able to value your own opinion. And when you're able to value your opinions, you'll feel comfortable to share your opinions with people with assertiveness. So if you're practicing being more assertive, I want you to question how you feel about your self-esteem and self-respect. The second thing is to learn how to say no. Again, we're going to go much deeper into this in the next month when we go through that crash course on communication. But for now, please remember that when you say yes to somebody just because you can't say no, you have already said no to something else. Think about it. If you said yes to being here in this webinar with me, you have said no to watching TV. You have said no to a friend you could have had a chat with. You've said no to your family members who you can connect with later, but you prioritize this and you said yes to this. So when you say yes to something, you've already said no to something else. Now the question is, what deserves your yes? And you go ahead and say yes to that. So our ability to say no is a function of our wisdom to know where to say yes. Make sense? Let's have make sense in the chat box if you're with me. Is this opening up something for you guys to say make sense? Super, super, great. Guys, I just realized I think the link has not reached out to everybody. I'm just putting it again in the chat box. This is the registration link for public speaking course. And the code is webinar. All right, thank you so much for pointing that out. Thank you guys. Okay, so we need to value our opinions when we're being assertive. We need to learn how to say no. And the third thing is to stay calm. Assertiveness is not the same as being aggressive. Assertiveness is about being firm. And being firm means bringing in clarity in what you wish to say without the need to be a pleaser, without the need to be nice all the time. Sometimes we've got to say things the way they are without adding aggression to it. We can stay calm and still say what needs to be said without the drama, because what aggression brings with it is drama. And the drama makes people feel confused because they get carried away with the drama, right? With how you were saying things. And that's what our complaint is with people, right? Why can't you focus on what I'm saying? Why do you have to always bring up how I say it? Do we say that to our partners, our lovers, our spouse, our team members? You say that? Give me a yes in the chat box. Yeah, Yupi, I kind of land up saying that sometimes. Like, why can't you understand what I'm trying to say? Why is it always the how? Because it is the how that matters, because it is the how that prepares the other person to be willing to listen to us. And if you've not taken care of the how, the what will never reach. It will never reach them, irrespective of how good you are with words. It's not the words, it is the delivery of words. So there is a study that Maharabian did to prove that what we say is only 7% of communication. 93% is how. The body language, the voice tonality, all that is the how of communication. So if you don't, put our focus and attention on the 93%, the 7% is never enough, right? And that's why it's important to stay calm. When you're practicing being assertive, you stay calm and say, you know what, it's not working too well for the team that you show up late every time. We have a virtual meeting, a team meeting at 10 in the morning, and I expect everyone to be formally dressed. There is a full stop at the end of this. It's an assertive statement. It is not open to views. It is not open to a discussion. And I'm not being aggressive. I'm not imposing myself on you. I'm just clearly stating the as is. And that's called being assertive in a calm manner, because assertiveness is about being calm. It goes hand in hand. And we learn a lot more about it in the course next month. But for now, I want you to take away these 3 points. Value your own opinion before you expect people to value your opinion. Learn to say no and learn to be calm. Which means if you are in a mental state where you're disturbed, you're upset, move out of that place. Have a glass of water. Take a little walk. Give yourself a breather, maybe 5 deep breaths. And then say what you need to say in a calm manner. Because when you do that is when you are truly being assertive. All right? Is that good? All good? Let's say all good in the chat box, guys. We know a little bit about being more assertive now. Super good, Deepa. Love that. Thank you. All good, Ruchika. Awesome. Latasha. Thank you, Arnab. Thanks, Nisha. Fantastic. Thank you, Kunjal, Kedar. Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Let's come to the last and the most important point. Now, if I were to rate from 1 to 5 on these 5 points on being effective, it is an absolute tie. It is a tie between all 5 that I've brought to your attention today. But empathy is the core of it all. It is like the soul of communication, because communication is about connection. We communicate to connect. If we communicate only to transact, the transaction will not get through unless the connection happens, right? So what helps us to connect is when we elevate our ability to empathize. And I'm going to share with you 5 ways to elevate your ability to empathize. Will that be cool? Let's have super cool in the chat box, like super cool. These are like 5 mantras, okay? Absolute crash course on empathy in just 10 minutes for you all. Super cool. All right, Sujata. Thank you, Garima. Super cool. Okay, let's get ready to elevate our level of empathy. Okay, the first thing I want you to do, and if I were you, I will pick this up as homework. Those who attend my sessions know that I love homework because it helps us to take the session forward. When you pick up the homework I suggest for you guys, it is your way of keeping me with you, keeping this session with you. And when you keep the session with you for longer, it gives you more, it offers more than just 1 hour of concentrated effort, right? So do you want to get more from this session? If the answer is a big yes, then take the homework and commit to it. All right, do you commit? Just say, yes, I commit. Yes, I commit. Yeah, Abhishek says, I love giving homework. I do. I just explained why. It's very important, guys. Otherwise, it's just another session. At best, you'll give me a 5 on 5 for how I reached out to you. But for me, a 5 on 5 means when you take something back from this session. Even if it's that one thing, then that's a 5 on 5 for me, for myself. Okay. And I want a 5 on 5 and nothing less. Great. Thank you so much, guys. So the first thing we've got to do to elevate empathy is to challenge ourselves. Challenge your ability to go beyond your understanding. Know that no matter how much you know only as much as your 5% conscious mind will allow you to know. Our brain has 3 parts. Okay, there is a conscious part, there is an unconscious part of our brain, and there is a subconscious part of our brain. All of this is a part of our physical brain. The conscious part of our brain that we consciously use is just 5%. And that's not my lucky number, it's what science has proved. 5% of our brain is actively, consciously involved in what we do. So imagine all the pride that we take in knowing everything that we know, whatever that everything is just 5% of what our brain can understand and consume. How do you expand that? With curiosity. You expand that when you allow people to be who they are, when you allow people to share, and when you challenge yourself to learn different points of view. If there are 75 people here in this room, there are 75 different worlds that they have come from. Everyone, each and every one of you has your own world. And in your world, There is a different yes and a different no, a different right and a different wrong, isn't it? There is a different set of values, a different set of ethics. Nothing is universally right and nothing is universally wrong. Even a criminal who's committed a crime has a very good reason to have done that. So they are very right in their mind, isn't it? Would you agree? Right? A criminal would not say, I did that, but I think this was very wrong. Of course not. It was needed to be done, and so I did it, and it's my right. And because as per a society, we need to have certain norms so that we are civil and we are able to adjust with each other, we are able to tolerate each other, we are able to create certain standards which becomes a benchmark for us to refer to. We have those universal understandings of ethics and values. But having said that, we all still have our own world we come from, our own upbringing, our experiences, our own childhood, our challenges, etc. So when you challenge yourself to go beyond whatever little you know, is when you're open to learning, you're open to empathize with people. I see a lot of hands going up. So let me come back to the room for a bit and hear from you all. I think, Abhijit, I saw your hand up. Allow me a moment to bring you in. Yes, Abhijit. You want to share? You can unmute.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. Yeah.
Sorry, your voice is breaking, Abhijit.
No, I'm comfortable. I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one moment, please. Okay, great. Anyone else wants to share? Just quickly put it on the chat box right now, and then I'll go back to my mind map. Just put your name in the chat box if you want me to bring you in for a sharing. You're all good? Say all good in the chat box if you're all good. All good? All good? Super. Super good. Okay, wonderful. I love that. Okay, so let's go back to elevating empathy. The first thing is to challenge yourself, and the second is to explore. Explore the other worlds that I'm talking about. Explore where other people come from. Explore different areas or different topics that you know very little about. If you don't travel much, see if you can explore learning about other places. Can you read up on it? Can you watch some world cinema? Can you expand your understanding? Can you widen your canvas? Can you explore other activities you've never indulged yourself with? Can you explore learning about different cultures, celebrate festivals that you know very little about? That's expanding empathy. The third way to expand empathy is to question with curiosity. Question things, even if it sounds as basic as how does light work? How does AC cool the room? Maybe we went through this as content in school, but how much were we really present to all those lessons? And how much were we willing to understand it beyond just clearing an exam? Right? If that question is coming back to me now and I'm now more willing to learn, it's never too late. I'm just going to find out the answer to this question that pops up in my head. And let that be any random question. In fact, allow randomness. Randomness brings in the power to elevate empathy. Randomness takes you away from what you know. And especially when you know that whatever you know is so little compared to all that you can know, are you more open to randomness? The fourth thing is to examine your bias. We have so many different biases we operate from that you will be surprised to know. And one of the courses that we call as ULC, Upskilling Leadership Challenge, available on the website, I kind of put out 20 different biases as a part of that course. Each time you go through a bias, it helps you to make better decisions because you're able to catch the conditioning you have created in your mind under which you operate from where you make decisions. So bias has a lot to do with elevating self-awareness and therefore making better decisions. You've got to examine, your biases. And the last and the most important point about empathy is to seek people's feedback. No communication is complete after you have said what you want to say, unless you've heard from other people what they feel. How have they taken it? What did they agree or disagree with? What is their feedback? Now, feedback is a very, very important topic. I might touch upon this in our crash course next month and also in public speaking this weekend. But we've got to spend a lot more time to learn about feedback. Maybe I'll plan another webinar if you all are keen to learn more about this. But seeking feedback, first and foremost, is about the willingness to accept it the way it comes. A lot of us think that I'm very open to feedback. I keep asking for feedback from people, I like feedback. But it doesn't end there. Your willingness is the first step. What is important after that is how specific you are with what you're asking for feedback, and then how open you are to receive whatever comes your way without judging what is said and who has said it. So when you take feedback from people is when you're able to understand them better and you're able to understand how you are connecting with them better, and that is empathy. So what are you going to do as homework to elevate your level of empathy? Let's have that in the chat box. What are you committing to? Timing and schedule of the crash course, Aradhya, thank you for asking. So the crash course for this month, like I said, will be this weekend, 24th and 25th of April, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Both the days, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So it's 4 hours, 2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday, at the end of which you will get a certificate if you complete the course, only if you complete the course, which means some work that you will do over the weekend with me. Fun work. It'll be fun work. Public speaking is a lot of fun. Okay, great. So what are you taking away? Explore, seek feedback, certification. Oh, sorry. Okay, Neha, it's again about the course. Let me park it for now. I'll come back to this. Homework that we're taking away is to examine our bias, explore and question, seeking feedback. Wonderful, wonderful. I want a homework from all of you here in the room, guys. We've got to commit to what we're going to do differently after attending this session on effective communication. What is that one thing I will commit to do to make my communication effective? That for me is success. My success of having delivered this session and your success of having spent your valuable time with me today. So a quick recap, and then I want to come back to the room with some more sharing. 5 ways to make communication effective is authenticity, which means claiming your ownership, connection, clarity, being curious, and bring in consistency. Open-mindedness by accepting different point of view, asking questions, and avoiding speculation. Listening using Fiji, always focus, show interest, avoid judgment, and never interrupt. Assertiveness, value your opinion, learn to say no and stay calm. A lot of it we will cover next month in the crash course on communication. And empathy, by challenging ourselves, exploring, questioning, examining our own biases, and seeking feedback. So let us seek some feedback from you all here in the room. Please share, what are you taking away? Can I get the recording of the session? Absolutely, yes. Please look out for the mail that will follow. We will have the recording link sent in that email. If you are connected with me on LinkedIn, then I'll put it up on LinkedIn as well, and you can grab the recording from there too. All right, I'm going to quickly look into the questions. Can I get the recording? I've already answered. Aradhya, I'm very keen to answer. Why silhouette? Allow me another 5 minutes to do that. How to overcome fear. Other questions are related to public speaking, guys. We want to do this properly. I want you to understand where fear comes from. It has to be a very, very deep conversation. So no passing remarks on that. Let us connect on 24th and 25th and crack public speaking forever. Let's go beyond this fear and be absolutely comfortable to be out in public. So register and I will see you there for the course. All right, very quickly, what are you taking away from the session before we conclude? Let's please have the sharing, and never ever underestimate your sharing, guys. Your sharing can be a breakthrough for somebody else. If you really want to serve people, share your feelings. The more you share, the more vulnerable you are, the more people trust you. The more they feel encouraged to show the courage to be vulnerable, to be who they are, their authentic self. So sharing is very, very powerful. In fact, you can go ahead and share anything and everything you've learned from this session with anyone you want. I will get the mind map available to you all. in the mail that will follow. Use the mind map, share it with whoever. I don't worry about copyrights here, okay? This is totally your content once you consume it, and go ahead and share it with the world outside. Let's spread the message. Let us help everyone to bring effectiveness into their communication. And that is what will make this world a better place, right? Every tad bit matters. So thank you so much, Aradhya. Take home. Do not aim to transact, aim to connect through your communication. Connection may open doors to transaction. So beautifully said, Aradhya. Thank you for that beautiful sharing. Mind map is amazing. Loved it, Dr. Chandra. Thank you so much. Be authentic. Listen with patience and empathy for Diluvi. Thank you so much. Others, please share. Keep the sharing going. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. If you have any more questions, you can stay back. And for the rest, once again, thank you for making time to be a part of this discussion today. There are some questions on the course for the weekend I'm going to take up now. But once again, thank you so much for your valuable time. It matters a lot to me that you find value in whatever little value I have to offer. And I hope that you do your homework and share what it opens up for you on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn and share those stories. That's what makes my life worth living. I'm going to pick up a few comments. Amazing session, Yukti. Deepa, thank you so much. Such a profound teaching and learning. Going to practice all of them. God bless you. God bless you too, Deepa. Thank you so much. I missed the introductory part. Can you briefly tell us about yourself in short? Sure, Aradhya. So I am a leadership and etiquette coach, and I am a founder of a company called SPY Academy. We offer leadership training and executive coaching solutions. Thanks to the blessing in disguise of this pandemic, that we are now a global company, and we've been able to reach out to various other countries and spreading the message of effective communication and effective leadership through whatever we do. So that's what we do. There are some webinars that I offer every month, to be precise, every alternate Wednesday. So look out for that. And there is also a crash course that we do, a new topic within the scope of leadership every single month. This month, we're going to talk about art of public speaking. And next month, we're going to go deeper into communication as in a crash course format. So look out for the next month's detail in the emails. We share a lot of information through emails. If you think we probably don't have your email address, Aradhya, please share it with me in the chat box. Certificate for the course. This is going to be a Silhouette certified course. It's a certificate of pride, because we don't believe in just participation. It is a matter of pride that we are conscious learners. A lot of us claim to be lifelong learners, but only when you commit to learning that you are really a learner. And the certificate goes to prove that you have, in fact, put in that effort to learn, and hence it's a certificate of pride. Yeah, great. Thank you for the questions. I will see all of you, hopefully, over the weekend once again. It's going to be an open room format. We will all have our videos on. We will have workbooks. You will get an ebook. You will get a lot of resources to go further into your understanding and expanding your understanding on public speaking. And we'll take communication forward next month through Crash Course. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic evening ahead. I'll see you all real soon. Thank you.